intimate violence, a secret pandemic. Geeta sits in the chair in my office, nervously alternating between glances at the wristwatch that adorns her slim wrist and lightly fingering her 22-karat gold Mangalsutra necklace. When she speaks, her voice is quiet, and though she has an excellent command of the English language, her Indian accent betrays her recent immigration to the United States. She is very pretty, thin, and in her mid-20s, but in her casual dress of tight faded blue jeans and baggy deep turquoise kurti shirt, she could easily pass for a teenager. She offers up a sweet demeanor, but something about her manner feels forced, as though she's trying hard to project a positive aura. So Geeta, your internist referred you to me. She was concerned you might be depressed. Geeta clears her throat. Then, in a voice that is almost a whisper, she says, I have a lot of family problems, Dr. Jain. She tells me that she was born and raised in a small town in North India. Her marriage was arranged to an engineer named Akash, who was from the same town but was currently working in Wisconsin. She first met him 3 years ago during a visit he made to India. He came to her childhood home with his parents, and that was where she first laid eyes on him. Akash was handsome, with fair skin and light brown eyes, and Geeta was instantly drawn to him. They met on 2 further occasions, once at a local restaurant and another time at his parents' home. And during both of their meetings, they were accompanied by a gaggle of family chaperones. He seemed shy, but she did not mind, because she was a reserved person too. And they had common interests, a love of Bollywood movies, classical music, drawing wildlife, and Sufi poetry. When her parents asked her if she consented to the marriage, she said yes, and why not? Akash was a well-educated engineer from a good family and was living in the United States. What an adventure her life would be. She had wanted to travel to America ever since her cousin had moved to Texas 5 years earlier. In the year that followed their formal engagement, Geeta and Akash waited for her visa paperwork to be processed by the US Embassy in New Delhi. They Skyped regularly, and during those sessions, she grew fonder of him and started to fantasize about the prospect of living abroad and seeing snow for the first time during the Wisconsin winters. They were married in India 2 years ago, and not long after, she arrived in Wisconsin on a dependent spouse visa to live with Akash in his 1-bedroom apartment. Geeta tells her story with a surreal detachment, as though she's talking about a girl she once knew but has since lost touch with. She grows silent and appears lost in another world. To encourage her to keep talking, I interject with a disclosure of my own. Geeta, it's not easy moving to a new country, starting over, being thousands of miles away from family and friends. I did the same when I moved from England to Wisconsin. I imagine Wisconsin must be very different from India. Geeta starts to cry hard. I knew it would be difficult. I just did not know it would be this challenging. She tells me that on weekends, Akash drinks heavily and then accuses her of cheating on him during the week when he's at the office. When am I going to cheat on him? She asks me with a deeply pained look in her eyes. She tells me that she has no access to money, no key to the apartment, and no cell phone. Akash calls her every 30 minutes from his office on their apartment landline to check that she's there, and after she says hello, he just hangs up. She tells me how he drives her everywhere, for grocery shopping, hair appointments, and to shop for clothes. She can never go anywhere alone. During her weekly Skype call with her parents, he hovers in the corner and monitors her as she lies her way through her conversations. Yes, Ma, I'm happy. Yes, Ma, I'm settled. In the 2 years she's lived in Wisconsin, he's sabotaged almost every friendship she's made. She has one friend, a neighbor, also a young bride from India, whom Akash reluctantly allowed to drive Geeta to today's appointment. Geeta tells me the lengths she went to make this appointment, how she lied and told him she had a gynecologist appointment for an urgent woman's problem, and of her plan to hide the health insurance statements that will arrive in the mail addressed to Akash. If I told him the truth, he would never have let me come, she says. I feel so trapped, Dr. Jain. In India, I had such a carefree life. My parents may have been from modest means, but I was raised in a loving home. I don't know what to do. Geeta, does he hurt you physically? I ask, half sensing the answer to my question. She looks forlorn. You can't tell anyone, Dr. Jain. I'm telling you this in complete confidence. No one else knows. She tells me that Akash frequently hits, slaps, and punches her. She rolls up her sleeve to reveal a scar on her arm from a gash she received when he pushed her onto broken glass. She had just served dinner, and he responded by telling her she was a lousy cook. He threw the dinner plates and glassware on the floor, spat food at her face, and then shoved her to the ground. Geeta tells me that her head swirls with the torrent of abuse he hurls at her. You are ugly, you're a dimwit, your family is trash, and you have rotten blood. Geeta is depressed, she sleeps poorly and has nightmares about Akash's angry outbursts. She's lost so much weight that her periods have stopped, and she feels as though the joy has been sucked out of her life. Her days are spent feeling fearful, and frequently as time approaches for him to return home from work, her hands shake and go numb, her heart races and she becomes drenched in sweat. I tell Geeta that Akash's violence is not acceptable, that she should call 911 the next time she feels threatened or he assaults her. I offer her a list of domestic violence shelters and other organizations that can help her. To my astonishment, she waves away the list. No, Dr. Jain, you do not understand. She looks exasperated with me. If I call the police, he will go to jail. He will lose his job and his visa and will have to return to India disgraced. Do you know how many people rely on Akash's income? It pays for his brother's college tuition, his sister's marriage dowry, and his parents' doctor's bills. What type of wife brings this misfortune on her husband? I'll bring hardship to his entire family and shame upon my own parents. No, I would never call the police on him. Now Geeta reveals her true intent behind coming to this appointment today. Dr. Jain, tell me how I can get Akash to love me. How can I make our marriage work?